Hookshot isn't really popular in today's game because the players coming up, they've watched film of Dr. J and Michael Jordan, and that's how they want to play.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean David.
Hello and good day to you all. How's it going? Welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine, hopefully your favorite NBA show. In today's episode, I want to take a look at NBA legends giving their opinion about how good Kareem Abdul Jabbar was. And I did my best to find some new clips that you hopefully haven't seen before. But before we get into today's episode, I just want to remind you guys, if you want to support the Basketball Time Machine even more, please check out the Basketball Time Machine t-shirt and your old school baller t-shirt right underneath the video. All right, enough said. Let's get right into it. So the first player that we're going to take a look at is actually a true NBA legend, Dr. J. And Dr. J openly admits that he's a huge fan of Kareem Abdul Jabbar. So let's have a look what he has to say.
Who was the best player you ever played against?
Kareem Abdul Jabbar. He was always in the way. I just think that if I were going to start a franchise, he's the guy I would start with. I'd probably would pick him as an ideal teammate.
Who do you think out of the guys from your generation? Who do you think Moses was probably the most underrated?
No, Moses is the most underrated because Kareem is the greatest. I mean, in terms of centers all time, Kareem is the number one guy. In terms of players all time, Kareem is still the number one guy. He's the guy you got to start your franchise with.
Because you get 20 years.
You get 20 years and you get leadership, you get excellence in terms of offensively and defensively, and figuring things out, and accomplishment. I mean, his numbers speak volumes.
And the next player that we're going to take a look at is Bill Walton, one of the most interesting NBA players of all time. Why? Because he always has, pretty unique and also very insightful opinions about certain players. So this is what he has to say about Kareem Abdul Jabbar.
Number 33, when he burst on the international scene with the fold-out cover of Sports Illustrated. I was in high school and I wore number 33 because of Kareem. And he was just the most incredible player that I'd ever seen. He set such a standard of excellence, and his relentless search for perfection just established himself as this remarkable beacon, ideal of what a basketball player, what a human being could be. I wanted to play on the same team, in the same program, the same history, the same legacy that Kareem had created and given so much to UCLA. Kareem, he was the greatest player that I've ever played against.
Skyhook. Yeah, Kareem Abdul Jabbar. Unbelievable. First of all, I'm surprised that nobody's ever done it. Tries to do that shot.
Lots of other kinds of hooks, but no one's ever gotten the sky.
No one's got. But the thing about Kareem, when you look back at some of those games and those iconic moments where he hits those shots, I mean, he's hitting deep ones. I mean, he's hitting from 15 feet that sky hook, and you know it's coming. You know what he's gonna do. He's gonna give you a little shoulder or whatever, but he's going to that sky hook. And I don't know if there's ever a play or a shot in the history of the game that scored one as many points, and two was just. You couldn't guard. You couldn't guard it. And, I'm just surprised that more big guys don't try to work on that shot. I know it takes a lot of finesse, a lot of touch, but, it's one of those things that I'm even thinking, why did I work on that? I mean, that shot right there was unbelievable to defend.
The first time playing against Kareem, but the first time he was Lou Alcindor, and he just created just an incredible challenge for me. He was with the Milwaukee Bucks, and they had the interleague matchup, Milwaukee Bucks against the Kentucky Colonels, and that was my first time, competing against this giant of a player.
What makes that shot so difficult to guard? First of all, you got a guy who's 7'2" with incredible balance. It takes a great balance to execute that type of shot and the fluidity to come through, because once he get up there, he's up there all alone. And there's no way you're gonna block that shot. But he stayed within an area. You talk about staying in that box, and that's what Kareem did. And it was just an unguardable shot. And again, a guy at 7'2" with that type of mobility, that type of talent, and athleticism at that size.
Kareem and I grew up together. I've known Kareem since I was 14, so I mean, I've seen the metamorphosis of a basketball player that started out at 14 and ended up being probably the greatest scoring center in the history of the game. I do remember that when Kareem was a freshman, you know, he wasn't as talented as he was his sophomore year, and between that year, I think I remember him going up to Coach's with Wilt. And I think Wilt had a lot to do with a maturation of Kareem's game.
Kareem is a long story. There's a lot to unpack with Kareem. You know, I met Kareem when he was Lou Alcindor. I didn't really meet him, but I played against him in high school. One Christmas, we had a tournament. Power Memorial came up from New York to play us in that Christmas tournament. We ended up beating them 78-74. Fast forward, going now to the early 70s when Kareem became a teammate of mine with the Los Angeles Lakers. I used to remind him all the time about, you know, how much fun it was that we beat you at you know, in Schenectady, New York, and you always, if it wasn't for those officials, you know, we would have busted your chops. And he said, by the way, I came back the next year and we played again. We beat you by 50.
There's a big guy, big guy's battling with you, and you're going off one leg. The strength and the balance.
But I will say the space.
But where's your shoulder pointed at?
Oh, at the basket.
Yeah. So when
at the basket.
And that's the whole key. Like with Kareem, he would get you, and then he had got so good at it, like all of you have, where okay, I figured out like if I can't get my shoulder around, okay, now intellectually, right, I can now change and say, okay, I got to shoot it 2 more inches over here.
So, Scottie, I want to pick your brain. What do you think are some of the most unguardable moves you've ever seen or played against?
Let's see, who got the most points in the league? Kareem
Abdul
Jabbar. The sky hook is the answer. That's the answer.
Okay, so this is my question. Why don't any players today develop that? If it truly is the most unguardable thing anyone's ever come up with, why aren't we seeing it? We've seen some sort of mid-baby ones, but no one who can really do it.
I think that shot kind of escaped the game, kind of left with the great one, because there's no one really teaches it. I've seen guys use jump hooks, but not the sky hook.
Right.
He's tried to teach it.
I was going to say,
too.
we had Kareem on the show quite a bit, which is awesome. And I mean, look, he said he's available. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and secondly, Kareem was one of the greatest scorers in this game. So you have to be a scorer to even try to.
The level of good you have to be to even get there.
Try to accept that shot, you know.
He's unreal. The way you just say Kareem, you say sky hook. I mean, which is the most unstoppable shot ever made in basketball.
The sky hook, to this day, nobody's ever replicated a shot.
I just think he's simply amazing in how he took a shot and just mastered it, and nobody can duplicate it.
And I asked him one time, and I said, Kareem, since we are jazz cats, you know, the two of us, so I said, what would be that patented jump, that hook shot you got, the sky hook? What does it feel like if you were a musician? He said it feels like John Coltrane playing the saxophone. And I said, yeah.
Scott for a three-pointer if he wants it, and he doesn't. Yes. Now Scott looks inside to Kareem Abdul Jabbar, takes it in there, he dribbles around Eaton, beautifully slam dunk. Foul! Now that's the way you have to attack Mark Eaton.
So how good is Kareem Abdul Jabbar in my opinion? Well, as you probably know, there are many NBA legends who consider Kareem Abdul Jabbar to be the best player of all time. And even I, as a huge Michael Jordan fan, gotta admit that I can definitely see where they're coming from. I mean, not only is the guy the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, but he also had the skyhook, the most deadliest weapon in NBA history as well. So if I had to pinpoint it in my all-time list, Kareem Abdul Jabbar is the second best player of all time. Alright, that was it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on the Basketball Time Machine.